How's it going, everybody? It's Pride here and welcome back to another Sekiro video. Today, I thought I would do kind of like a first impressions video slash answering some questions that I've been getting asked about the game myself. I think I've played enough of the game so far that I have a first impression. Obviously, I won't have a final impression until I completely beat the game. But you know, an important question that I've been getting asked a lot is, does the game live up to my expectations? So apart from, wanting the game to be good, I didn't try to set expectations that were too high because, typically for games, you don't want to do that and then be let down. But considering it was a From Software game, it was, a game directed by Miyazaki, I did have sort of high expectations for it. I wanted something that was challenging, that kicked my ass, but never felt really impossible. I definitely wanted it to be a rewarding experience, and you definitely don't have a rewarding experience without just getting annihilated, which happens so much in this game, especially right at the beginning, man. You're gonna get your ass kicked in this game. So far, if you were to ask me right now with my first impressions, I would probably say this is the hardest of the From Software Soulsborne games. If you compare it to those and you want to extend the name to this, a Soulsborne Sekiro, I would probably say this is the most difficult one right off the bat. By the way, I'm about 10, 9, 8 hours into the game, somewhere around there. So, I haven't probably gotten into the late game bosses, but I've gotten destroyed so much by stuff like mini bosses in this game. It's kind of rare that I die to regular enemies now. I think I've died once or twice in the whole playthrough to regular enemies. I think I've died to gravity more, killing myself by accident, thinking I could grapple to a certain area if I jump to it and then fall down a mountain and then die. I think that's happened more than I've, gotten ambushed by a couple of different enemies that attack you at the same time, which definitely can happen because you take damage quick in this game. Regular enemies are going to do half of your health bar with a hit. But what I love about this game is that if you have a fast enough reaction time, you can get out, you can grapple out. There's a pretty good chance that if you start getting ambushed and you look around, there's going to be somewhere that you can grapple to and immediately escape. The verticality in this game is fucking amazing. It really is. It's one of my favorite parts, exploring the top of buildings that you don't know if you can get up to, and then you get closer, you're like, oh, there's a little grappling thing there. You go up there, you explore. There's always going to be multiple ways to approach a situation in this game. There is your typical stealth, which, to be honest, I haven't done too much of. I've done some of it because there's times where stealth is absolutely necessary. When you're in an area and you see 10 enemies walking, and then you see a patch of grass on the side that's just tall enough for one Sekiro man, then you probably think to yourself, oh, I guess this is the part where they want me to do stealth. It's going to be kind of obvious when they want you to do stealth compared to running in and killing everything. Now, right off the bat, I definitely would say that this game meets my expectations of what I expected and what I hoped for. Everything that I've faced so far has been challenging, yet really rewarding. It hasn't really felt like, man, I'm never going to beat this boss, or I'm never going to beat this mini boss. It's been hard, but it's never felt impossible. Most of the bosses that I've faced so far, I don't think I've ever gotten stuck on them for more than like 30-40 minutes. I mean, that is a shit ton of time still on one boss, but it's more like you go in, you try to learn their pattern. Each boss is going to have a certain pattern that you can easily follow a lot of the times. Maybe it'll seem really hard and really impossible in the beginning. Like, there's no fucking way I'm going to do this. His attacks are too fast. There's too many of them. But then once you die and give Dragon Rot to about 98 of your closest friends in the world of Sekiro, you'll start learning patterns. The bosses have certain patterns. 1, 2, 3, 4 attacks that are going to be consecutive, that are going to have a certain timing to them. They're always going to be consistent. There's going to be big attacks that you can easily deflect and get a shit ton of posture damage on them. And that's another thing, man. The posture damage is freaking awesome. I never thought that going into this game, the health bar wouldn't really be a thing that you look at too much. Obviously, the bosses and stuff have health, but the health isn't really important. What's important in this game, the most important thing, is the deflects. Building up their posture, trying to break their guard so you can get a quick stab and pretty much remove whatever is left of that health bar. If they have multiple of them, which they most of the time will if they're a boss or a mini boss, that is absolutely the strat right there. This game is all about deflecting and parrying properly, which can be a little bit difficult to get into. Definitely can, man. And I think it's kind of obvious considering I asked on Twitter, you know, now that it's been out for a couple days, do you guys think that this is the hardest of all the other From Software Soulsborne games? And at the moment of making this video, 75% of the people have said that it is. And I think it's a mixture of people kind of still getting used to the combat. It's so much more different than something like a Dark Souls. In Dark Souls, you can go in, you can spam away whatever you want, and it's going to be rare that you get punished for it, especially with a lot of enemies. In this game, you kind of have to be creative with the way you approach situations. You can do stealth for a couple of different guys. There's going to be certain enemies that are going to spot you first. For example, guys who shoot guns or have bows and arrows, or that announce your presence to others. Like there's old ladies that ring bells and stuff that announce your presence to everybody, and now you've alerted everybody. You're always going to want to try and go for those first. Now when you're already in a situation where everybody has seen you, again, that's when the verticality comes into play, man. The verticality means that you can get up and look at certain situations, try to split people up, get the weaker ones first, and then pick people off slowly until you maybe, you know, let's just say are fighting a general that has a bunch of his men around them. You split all of them up, take care of them slowly, and then try to face the general by himself, which is probably going to be pretty difficult because those damn generals are fucking tough, man. That's one thing I will say. Sometimes the mini-bosses in this game can be just as difficult, if not more difficult, than some of the bosses. Now, is the game worth buying? I know that the game probably has a lot of people worried. You know, maybe it might be too difficult for you. Maybe it might be too unfamiliar compared to Dark Souls. If you're a From Software fan, if you're a Dark Souls fan, I think this is going to be a great game that you'll probably enjoy. It's definitely not like Dark Souls. You can't just R1 spam away. Now, I shouldn't say that. You probably can. There are some enemies that you definitely can. Smaller enemies. You can just, you know, hit them 2 or 3 times and maybe break their posture. But deflecting in this game is definitely the most important thing, and the thing you have to get used to the quickest to actually be successful at killing a bunch of different things, especially bosses and mini bosses. I have a terrible sense of timing, and I was able to get, you know, a fairly decent amount of deflects because there are certain patterns that enemies have that are pretty easy to tell. But I absolutely do think that it is worth it that you play it. I think that it's one of the best of the series so far. You know, this Soulsborne Sekiro series that people are naming it. It's one of the best, 100%. Maybe the most difficult at the moment. I would say it's the most difficult. Honestly, it might even have the best combat out of them. It's tough to say, man. Like, it has maybe the most rewarding combat at the moment. Maybe it's just because it feels fresh and new. But it has some of the most epic fights with even smaller, like, mini bosses. You'll fight one of those generals for 6 minutes. Well, if you're shit like me, you could do it probably way quicker if you're not a big pussy. But I'm a huge pussy who is very scared of dying and getting my posture bar broken, and then me getting riposted and killed instantly, which can happen. But some of the fights that you get into are fucking epic, man. You go back and forth, deflect after deflect. The NPCs and the enemies in this game, mainly the mini bosses, seem to be really good at the deflects. Some of the bosses can range from really fucking difficult right at the beginning, and then you're like, oh shit, this boss pretty much has the same 3 patterns over and over. And then you go in there and just annihilate the boss in a couple of attempts. And it makes you feel badass when you do it, because the deflects are cool as hell. It makes you feel like you're, you know, an actual shinobi going in there, deflecting everything, and then just getting a sick ass riposte once you break their posture. At the moment, I would probably say it has the most rewarding combat out of any of these From Software Soulsborne games. I am looking forward to, and also not really looking forward to, getting that boss fight that takes, you know, 2.5 hours, 3 hours to beat. I know what's gonna happen in this game. It's bound to happen, man. I've gotten stuck on a freaking little mini boss for about solid 40 minutes. But then once you finally get that kill, it's so damn rewarding. It's so much fun, man. This game feels super fresh. It feels like combat that is really unique to the game that I haven't really played before. Even when you have a game like Dark Souls, which you already see that game, you're like, man, this combat's really unique, really fun. And then this game just takes it to the next level of fun with the prosthetic shinobi arm, with the grappling, with the verticality of the game, the deflects. One thing that I will say early on, man, that skill tree can be a little bit intimidating. one of the things right away that you should go for, Mikira counter. Just, I can't remember if it's one of the first things, but get that right away. It's going to help out so much. There's so much of those freaking thrust attacks that enemies do. Trust me, it's going to help out a lot. I'm not really sure how far I am into the game, but once I do finish it, and by the way, of course, I have been streaming it on Twitch and doing the full playthrough on Twitch, which you can watch in the description if you want. The link is there. I usually upload a video saying whenever I am live, or I post in the community tab, so you can come watch and join on in with everybody else who is watching live if you want. I can't wait to continue playing the game, and I already know I'm going to be doing multiple playthroughs. I'm already excited to play the game again, but in Japanese with the Japanese voices, which are supposed to be fucking awesome as well. People are saying the dub is kind of weak. I haven't really noticed. I think it's been okay. It hasn't been that bad. There hasn't been any voices that I've been like, oh boy. You know, Sekiro's voice is kind of just like, I feel like the way it's supposed to be. He doesn't really say much. He's just kind of a deep voice like this. I think he's alright, to be honest. But definitely let me know what you guys think of the game so far, man. Do you actually think that it is the hardest game of all the Soulsborne Sekiro series so far? I would love to hear your opinions. Thank you guys very much if you watched the video and made it this far. And if you've also been keeping up with my Sekiro playthrough, I know that a lot of people are playing it at the same time. So, you don't really want to get later on stuff spoiled for you, which is okay. I appreciate you checking this one out. Have a good day, everybody, and I'll talk to you all later. Peace!